So we're going to demonstrate how to use Filezilla, which is another FTP program that does have a free option for you to be able to use. It is very similar to other FTP programs, but obviously a little bit different. So let's just go ahead and get into what we need to do. So obviously we do have the Valencia Web Studio that we're going to access, that we are going to actually FTP to. And when we do, our website is actually going to show up on this website. And that's what our goal is, to be able to understand what that process is like and understand how we go through this process so that we can actually get files up on the web. So the first thing you need is your login information. This is going to be given to you in the online course, and so we will walk you through the process, but we won't actually tell you the credentials through this video. We obviously wouldn't want to share that publicly, but the host is something that is pretty commonly known, which is just our URL, which is valenciawebstudio.com. Your last name is going to be part of your username. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and type in one that I know from last semester. And then the password itself, again, this is going to be actually sent to you, or it's going to be available to you online. So you do want to make sure you know what that is. And you can actually copy and paste. So all of these things are case sensitive. You do want to make sure you're paying very close attention to all of the characters. If you make one little typo, it will give you a problem. And then we'll just go ahead and say quick connect. Now, some of these FTP programs are looking for secure certificates, which we don't really need for our website that we're working on. So if we were working on like a shopping cart or e-commerce website, then yes, we would need one. But in this case, we don't necessarily need to stress out about this little dialog box. It's just warning us that all of that certificate stuff is not available to us, which is fine. Okay, so in this case, we basically want to take the files that are on our computer. So I do have some on my desktop here, and these files are things that you want to make sure that you test in a browser window. And make sure that the images load. They need to load on your computer before you ever FTP. So from there, we essentially need to take those images and bring them over. Now, I usually use a couple other FTP programs. I'm curious to see if this is going to allow me to drag and drop. And it looks like it will. And it's dragging and dropping right on over, and you can see it's showing me a progress bar. This does basically show you over here the remote side. That's going to be what's on your server, and this side over here on the left side is going to be what's on your computer. So if you ever did want to download things, if you highlight whichever one that you want the files to go into, then when you do download files, it does basically download to that specific area. So let's go ahead and test. We just uploaded to exercise 1, so you'll see all these different exercises, and then you'll see a few projects there. If it's done correctly, it is going to load for us, where we're going to click on it, and then the images load for us. Okay, and that's how you know that you have FTP'd correctly, and that's how you know that you've got your files set up correctly. It may sound silly. We've got so many different ways that we could submit files back and forth during the semester. This is going to give you experience FTPing, which is essential for you to learn as a web designer. It's a skill that you need to be able to do to be able to get files up on the web. So we do want to make sure that you are able to practice. And then from there, it's also going to make it easier for us to review files, and when we get into coding, it makes it easier to transfer coded files back and forth. But the first time you get into a program like Filezilla, it is overwhelming. So the first thing we want to mention to you guys is just make sure that the login information is correct. You only want to log in once, hopefully, but if you make a mistake, try to solve your problems in a couple attempts. If you end up taking more than a few attempts to try to fix your problem, please email your instructor. If you ever get an error message or something that doesn't make sense, take a screenshot of it, send it back to us. In some cases, it's something simple like you went over quota, or perhaps your file isn't named correctly. Like for instance, this index file, if we had a capital I, things wouldn't work. So just keep that in mind. And then the ultimate test is going to be literally going to the Valencia Web Studio, clicking on your specific assignment that you're working on and seeing if your page loads. And if it doesn't, we'll work with you through the semester and help you troubleshoot. So hopefully this helps you out and just gives you another option. There's a ton of different FTP programs out there, and you're welcome to use any of them this semester that'll help you get your work up online.